Hey everybody, it's Jesse, and welcome to Live Coding with Jesse. Today we're going to go back to Project 2, and we're going to work on that probably just for today, and then we'll go back to the other project. I think we can finish up with what we need to on Project 2 today. So let me just explain just for a minute what we're going to try to do today, and then we'll go through it. So SendGrid is what we've been using to send mail. So I think I'm pretty sure that I had some streams, at least one stream dedicated solely to setting up SendGrid and sending mail. I was trying to make the emails a little bit nicer looking, so I was going to add some introductory text and before I sent the form data through email, and I wanted to look up with the SendGrid package, like what could I do. And as I was looking it up, I realized this was completely different than the code that I have, and so I went back and looked through the changelog, and there were a ton of breaking changes. So many breaking changes that they actually just completely changed the name of the package, the NPM package, and everything. So we're going to install a new NPM package that's going to have the new SendGrid API. I put a link to the GitHub repo for this in the description for this video. So if you want to read more about it, you can go there. At some point I'll probably be bringing over onto the screen that you all can see at least part of the documentation. Let's see. I think that's pretty much it for introduction. That sums up what we're going to try to do. Let me bring over. I had my live chat kind of buried here. Hey everybody. Okay, Sebastian was in here and said he submitted a pull request. I did see that, but then it looks like he had to go. He's going to go to dinner. Alright, so anyway, probably later on during the question and answer session, I'm going to go over a few pull requests. There were at least 2 pull requests that I want to go over. So probably the one that Sebastian just submitted that's not merged yet, and then we had another one that I merged earlier today. But I'm going to wait and go over those at the beginning of the question and answer session, so probably in about an hour. Okay, let's get started. So first thing is, let's just install this NPM package. So if you're not familiar with how to install things, let's start our timer. If you're not familiar with how to install things with NPM, this will be a good introduction. So to do this, you need Node installed on your machine and NPM. Assuming that you have that set up, then this would be your next step. You find, so I'll bring this over to show you. You find your NPM package. So this is npmjs.com. Normally, at least for me, what usually happens is I find what I want to use on GitHub, and then they'll have instructions to download it on GitHub. It just so happened that the SendGrid, the home page for the SendGrid Node client repo on GitHub doesn't have the instructions, so I had to find it on NPM. So either way, you can find the package on NPM, or usually there's GitHub instructions. But anyway, you want to look for something like this, and we're using Yarn. So normally, most people have NPM installed if they're using Node, but optionally you can use Yarn. They do the same thing. So I'm going to just copy and paste this. So we're going to do yarn add to add the package, and this is our new package name. The old name was just SendGrid. We'll remove the old package. Let's paste that in. And you see it's going through and it's installing everything. Okay, we get warnings. Warnings are okay. So if you get errors, then it didn't work, but warnings are fine. Okay, so we had success. So you can notice it actually installs a bunch of different things that are kind of separated out. We don't really need to worry about that, but it's kind of interesting to note. They do make note of it in the documentation at some point. I don't remember if it's in here or on GitHub, but we'll go over. We don't need this anymore. And let me show you what happened in our, is this it? Nope, over here. So in our package JSON, we now have our SendGrid package with the version number. All right, so here is our old package. Here's our new one, and we'll go ahead and remove this right now. I think it's yarn remove. Maybe I'll double check that just to be sure. I'm pretty sure it's yarn remove. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go yarn remove SendGrid. Okay, and now we can double check, make sure it was removed. Yep, and it's not here. It was there, now it's gone. Okay, so now we've removed the old version of SendGrid, and now we have the new one. So let's see. We'll check out our server.js file and see what we need to change now. So obviously, we're going to need to change. Let's see. Probably where we're requiring and how we're requiring this stuff. I would imagine that changed. So I'm gonna have the documentation up on my other screen, and I'll bring it over if I think, you know, maybe there's something that would be better to see. But a lot of this stuff, it'd probably be hard to read the documentation anyway. I'd have to make it really big. Let's see. Okay, yeah, so there is going to be a little bit of a difference. So let's go with, yeah, this is going to be really different now that I look at it. Okay, so let's get right into it. Also, if you're asking questions right now in the live chat, I'm glancing at it occasionally, but after this 25-minute session, so I have my timer here, I'll go back and take 5 minutes and answer some questions, and then at the end of the stream, I'll answer all the questions. So I don't mean to give the impression that I'm ignoring the live chat. I just have it kind of partitioned out that I switch back and forth. So I guess if you wanted to follow along right now, I'm just on that SendGrid NPM page, and I'm just checking out just the very basic use case to, you know, import this, and then we'll try to adapt what we have to match this new way of doing things. It's really different. I think we'll have to change pretty much everything from what we did before. And I don't know that I mentioned this before, but the reason I wanted to do this, and I've switched back from Project 3 here now to Project 2, is that I definitely want people who are watching this project to know that there's a new way of doing it, since we already did a stream with the old way. I kind of felt like I really should show the newer way. Because I know there's some people that follow along with these projects and they base some of their projects on that. So I almost felt an obligation to show the update since it changed so much. All right, so let's bring in, oops, gonna switch to my code here. Let's bring this in now. So, you know, we're changing the names of our constants, so a lot's gonna have to change. And when we bring in our API key, it's also different. So I actually am not sure that we even want to do it up here. Probably down. You know what? Maybe I'll do it right here after. This is kind of messing up my organization now. But until I think of a different place to put this, here's what I'm going to do. You'll see in a second what I'm talking about. So before we actually set the API key here when we were, you know, making this this constant anyway. But right now, like, we don't have to. That's not the way it's done anymore. So SendGrid API key. Okay, cool. That's the same name. So we can just delete this. Now let's scroll down to where we're actually using this. So the first place that we're using anything with SendGrid is for that suggest a story form. So of the two forms that we have, this one is by far the simpler of the two. So this will be a good place to start. So you can see right now what we're doing is, you know, we're using this helper.email and helper. You know, other things to kind of build up all the elements that we need, and then we're combining them all here in this mail constant. And at some point we're finally, you know, passing this. So where's the request? Let's see where we actually end up. There we go. Finally, after we combine all of these, we go sg.api, and then, you know, we pass in the request. So it's different. It's a lot different now. So now I'm going to copy and paste over what it's going to look like. Ooh. I think this way is actually, it's pretty simple. So we just have one constant now, and we're calling it message, and then it's an object, and then we have all the, you know, everything that we need right here. That seems a lot more readable to me, so I think that's a good change. And then when we're ready to send that message, we just do sgmail.send, and we pass in that message. So really, really easy. Now if you notice, right, there's no like error coming through, so I need to look at the documentation, you know, as we go forward to see, like, shouldn't we have some error handling. So but like I said, the example that I was using right now was just for like basic how to get it working. So there is a lot more in terms of use cases in the documentation. So so this is what I'll be looking at. So there's a lot of use cases here. The URL is more complicated, but, you know, basically the Node.js SendGrid that's linked in the description, packages, mail, use cases, MD. That's how you'd get to it if you wanted to follow along. So I'm hoping at some point, let's go to the kitchen sink example here. That way we'll get everything all at once. So let's go through this just so that you and I both have kind of an idea of what's possible. See, I haven't even gone through this yet. I didn't get this far in the documentation yet. All right, so we're good there. We're doing all this. You know, we can do it to CC. This is good. These are things I definitely wanted to do. Huh, this is interesting. I've never used anything with the SendGrid templates. I'm not sure if I want to look into this right now for this stream, but I'm interested in that. Interesting. We can add attachments as well. We're gonna have to think about this. I didn't realize that this was possible. You know, we already have, not for this form, but for the next form that we're gonna work on. You know, we are getting, you know, we're getting files, we're sending them, but we weren't sending them in the email. Now it will be possible to send these as an attachment. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about that. That might not be a bad thing. A bad thing to do. It would be almost like another backup. You know, we're already saving them, and we're sending them to project management system. But you know, the email might be nice as well. Okay, headers. Okay, I see. Okay, I like this. I like that we can use then. This is definitely more in line with what we're doing elsewhere throughout in Surveyjs, but really throughout. You know, we're using a lot of arrow functions, so I like that. But this is good. This is what I was hoping that would be in the kitchen sink example. So let's put that in now. Okay, so we have this. Okay, so let's put in, for now, let's just copy and paste all these values. Probably we'll want to change some of these values, but I want something that I can, you know, test out right now. So we're going to copy and paste these. And I'm just going to have it be sent just to myself right now. That is going to change. But just, I can't believe I just copied and pasted the exact same email address. So that's how it is when I'm trying to talk and do this at the same time. Sometimes I make silly mistakes. Okay, so now we have text. Where's our text? Email body. Actually, our email body is HTML. So let's put it in the HTML. And that is not a string. That is a variable. Okay. I'm interested to see if text is necessary. I don't think it's a bad idea to have a text version of the email. But let's check out. I wonder if it says anywhere which fields are required. Interesting. Yeah, this template looks. This looks interesting. All right, you know what? For now, I think I'm just gonna put in a message. Let's see. Okay. And that'll be alright. On the off chance that someone has an email client that doesn't allow HTML, which I've actually seen it on campus. Some people on campus had their email client set by default to not show any HTML and only show the plain text. So in case that happens, they'll at least get a nice message. They won't get all the same data, but they'll get this message, and that should be enough. Just to reassure, because this would go to the user. We'll also have one that goes to our project manager or someone else in my department. I'll probably have myself BCC'd on everything as well, at least at first, to make sure things are going through properly. Okay, so for now, I wonder, I do want to check to see if this is necessary now, or if we include HTML, then it's just automatic. But let's go back to that example that had everything. Yeah, I don't see an equivalent field. So let's just give it a shot. So let's get rid of all of this. Well, let's make sure. Yeah, we want to keep that bracket, but everything else we can get rid of. And we're going to save that. And where do I have? I have this open somewhere. I don't know where now. Oh well, I'll just open it again. So we have this, the localhost port 9000 is the one where the forms actually work. So if you're running this locally, 3000 works fine for most things, but not for the forms. 9000 is what you want for the forms. I've already went in and I've set my environment variables for sending emails to true. By default, everything is false, so that way if you're kind of playing around with this on your own, on your local machine, I don't get spammed with emails. But this should send the email. Let's see, suggest a story. Huh, that's interesting. Oh, okay, that's why. That makes sense. I hit enter expecting it to submit, but I was in a multi-line input, so it's good that it didn't submit. No, what happened? Alright, let's see what the error is. Let's see if it comes up here. SendGrid API key. Oops, looks like I forgot a closing paren. What do you guys say? If it's a singular for parentheses, is it a paren? I've heard that before, but not very often, so I'm not 100% sure on that. I should ask my wife. She's an English professor, so she should know things like that. And that was up at the top. There we go. You know, it's funny, when I finished this, doing this earlier, I looked at the end of it and I thought, that looks really weird. And then I just kept scrolling down. I didn't take the time to think about it. It's somewhere in my brain it registered that that was wrong, I suppose. Okay, now let's give it a shot. Awesome. Okay, so it says it was successful. And I just got a notification on my phone. And the email says, thank you for your submission. Actually, I want to see this, if this is visible. I've never tried to show this before on the screen. No, it's not. It's way too small. But anyway, I got the email. It came through, so great. So that works. Now what we need to do is let's put in some extra options. So this is great right now, but this is not what we want, you know, ideally. So let's go through and let's do what we should do. And so what I mean by that is we need to actually send 2 different emails, and we can't just have hard-coded email addresses in here. We need to take the user email. We need to put a proper from email and probably a from name. I'm not that worried about it for the email that's going to go to someone in my department, but for the email that goes to the user, I want it to look, you know, as professional as possible, right? Emails that look kind of shady might not get opened. It might get reported as, hey, I think somebody's like trying to fish, you know, or something like that. So let's, we actually did have that happen before. It wasn't one of my emails, but someone else in the department was sending out emails, and someone from IT said, like, hey, did you send this? Because it looks like, you know, it looks kind of shady. So now I'm careful to make sure that my emails look legit. All right, so let's add, we want to add a BCC field. So let's do that now. I'm going to BCC me, but I don't want my personal email. Let's do my work email. Okay. So that's good. And we want to do, let's take a look at that documentation again. Okay, great. So here's my, check my time. Okay, I'm almost up. So I'm going to ask a question and then see what you all think. It's possible to send 2 completely different emails, or I could just send one email and send it to more than one person, or BCC more than one person, or, you know, anything. So do you think it's better to send 2 completely different emails, or just have the person in my department get the email that the user would get and just be copied on it, or, you know, blind copied on it? Which would be the simpler option? At this point, there's no reason to show different data to both of those people. Yeah, so anyway, let me know what you think. I was thinking I'd like to send 2 different emails, but now that I think about it, maybe the simpler approach is better. Later on, I can always switch it up if I find that I do need to send different data. So let's see. Okay, cool. I already got some answers, and it looks like there's at least right now some agreement on sending, you know, just copying on one email. Yeah. After I kind of said it out loud, the answer became somewhat obvious to me. Earlier when I was thinking about it, for some reason I thought that I would need 2 different emails. All right, let me set my 5-minute timer, and I'm going to scroll up a bit in the live chat and see what questions you all have. No Beer says, what's up, how you doing? Not bad. Not bad. Same stuff. Same lack of motivation today, but I did manage on my lunch break to get a lot of stuff done on my my Redux project. So I'm excited about that because I haven't worked on it since Saturday, and I was afraid like I'm gonna forget what I was doing, and but I didn't. I mean, it took me a while to get my mind back into things, but I was able to work really quickly and get some tasks out of the way faster than I even thought that I would be able to. So that was cool. Hey everybody, I see a lot of people saying hi. Um, Sparwheel says, "Can I ask an off-topic question in the Q&A?" Yeah, definitely. Yeah, don't worry about it. Questions are good. You know, any kind of questions are good. I mean, coding-related questions obviously, you know, are allowed. But even other off-topic questions. I mean, if for some reason anybody would ever ask a question that I did not want to answer, I would just say that. So that's never happened yet, but I mean, maybe it could happen. So the only questions I could think of not wanting to answer would be things that I thought were like not like PG rated stuff, right? Because we do have like kids watch this. You know, we've had, how young did we have? I think somebody was 8 years old watching this at some point. We've definitely had somebody who was 11. But so anyway, those kind of questions would be the only thing that I could think of that I wouldn't answer. If you ask me, like, you know, what's the password to my alarm system on my house, I probably won't answer that. But anyway, let's see. Oh, Patrick. Patrick caught the closing paren, and he actually used paren. So that answers my question. So it is paren. And thanks for catching that, Patrick. It took me quite a while to realize my mistake. Hey, Sebastian's back. Rohan said that Android Oreo goodness. So did you notice I'm running Oreo on my phone? So yeah, I have the Pixel XL and I'm on Google Fi. So I got the Oreo update like immediately. So that was cool. So far I like it. It's not really that different, but the differences are improvements in my opinion. So so far so good on the Android Oreo update. Oh, okay, so John Hansen says the singular form is parenthesis, so it ends with SIS, but the plural is parentheses, SES. Okay. That's cool. I'm wondering where that ending's from. Where does the word parentheses come from? Is that Latin in origin or is that Greek in origin? If it's Latin, I could probably understand a little bit more why that's the singular and plural. I'm not really up as much on my ancient Greek as I am on the Latin. Okay, so Cade says that I should copy on a normal email, so just do a CC. Rohan says BCC. Yeah, I'll we'll see what I'll go with. I probably should ask. I need to check to see actually on. I gotta check the old code for this and see who I'm sending this to now, because I think I know who it's being sent to, but I need to double check. So I'll make sure I do that. I know where the other form is going for sure. John Hansen says, is this server sent email or will it go through an authenticated outbound email, SMTP? It's all being routed, so it's not being sent straight from the server. It's being routed to SendGrid. So I don't really know what I have set up with SendGrid. To be honest with you, I'm not. I don't mess with email that much to even know. What difference? All I know is that SendGrid does a good job of getting the emails where they need to go right now, so I'm sticking with that. Let's see, Reuven, I think that's how you would say that. So Reuven says, just joined, what's up? Working on updating the how we're sending emails through SendGrid. So the SendGrid node package got some big updates and breaking changes, and we're going to try to send. Well, we've just successfully switched over to it for one of our forms and sent an email. So now we're just going to try to add some extra things on, some extra options here. Okay. All right, cool. So I actually did get to the bottom of the live chat, and this, well, I went over the 5 minutes a bit, but not that much over. So I'm going to start up another 25-minute session. The way things are going now, I think we'll probably just do one more 25-minute session because, I mean, we're going to get, at least this form, we'll probably get to the point where it's pretty much finished. And then the other form won't be, it won't really be different. I'll just copy and paste from this first form. And it should be about the same. I don't think I'm going to mess with sending the files today. Okay. So let's... Okay, for now, I'm just going to BCC my work email because I don't know for sure who's supposed to be getting these emails. I'll have to look that up in the current version of this resource center. Also, I don't want to put their emails right now. I guess I could make them an environment variable, so I'll probably end up doing that. But I don't want to look them up during the stream because that would be boring. So you all would see this while I was on my other screen looking it up. So basically, let's just assume that I'm going to add some extra emails on here. Now, when I do that, I think I need to make them an array. Yeah. So what I'll need to do, assuming I'm going to BCC and not CC, I'll just make an array like that. So just in case you're going to do something similar, that's how it needs to be done. The reply to... Let's see. I'll have to think about, based on who that email's going to, I'll have to think about the reply to as well. We need a... I thought somewhere that I had seen... I guess you can't do that. Anyway, basically like to add something else for the from, not just the email. Okay. Not bad. We might just move on to the other form because I think this is all we need for this one. Like I said, this one's a really basic form. I do want to check quickly what that email looked like in my browser, just to make sure it looked all right. Okay, it's not bad. It's really, really basic. So I'll show you. It's just super basic. But that's pretty much what users are getting now. It looks a little bit better than this, but it's pretty basic. Okay, I'm okay with that for now. Like I said, later on, I think I want to look into the templating thing and see. I think it would be a lot easier to set up a template through SendGrid than to try to just piece together HTML in here, kind of like what I'm doing now. Template literals definitely make it a lot easier, but it would still probably be better. Whoa, that's why. I wondered why I didn't get 2 lines there. I forgot to close that tag. So anyway, template literals make it a lot easier, but I think it would still be nicer to not clutter up this already very cluttered server.js file with a giant amount of HTML. Okay, cool. So let's grab, let's see. Let's check out our other form for now, see what we have, and then see if we could just grab most of this and reuse it. So we do have a lot more going on here. So we're doing some checking, right? We have to handle files. So all this stuff is for our files. But then at some point, we get to the emails. Let's see, down here. Okay, so it looks like that's the same. This is different. Our field string should include at some point. Yeah, so it does include the file names. Does it? No, that's just the field still. Oh, okay. The file names will be included already just because of the way we built the form. So, all right. Okay, so it looks like I can basically copy and paste everything we did from up here. All we need to do is change this and this, and it should be fine. Yeah. So let's do that. So far, this is easier than I anticipated, which is awesome. Oops. I'm not sure that I... Oh, no, I'm good with this. I thought maybe this was left over. Let me double check that. Okay. There we go. I'm going to take all of that and I'm going to copy it up here. And we'll just take this subject and change that, and then we need field string. And I'll probably want to do something like we had done up here, so that we're not just putting in the field string. We'll have some text at the top. So let's get rid of, let's get rid of all this. And let's bring in, here we go. Let's bring this in. Request, and now we can change this back to email body. Okay, and for now, actually, let me check. I think I have my environment variables open on my other screen, and Okay, I don't. I thought I had the project manager's email saved already, but I don't. But I think that will end up being the email that's here, and maybe I'll probably double check as well to see what the from email is currently, and try to match that. Let's see. Okay, not bad. Well, let's test this out. Make sure we didn't mess anything up. So right off the bat, no errors in the console, so that's good. And let's go to our service request form, and I can't remember what fields we ended up making required. Actually, before I test this, we may as well try to use the user email for the two. So let's grab it. Should be, we've made an object of the fields, right? Okay, so we have this constant fields, which is an object, and then we add the fields, and the keys are the names of the fields. So I'm pretty sure email is just the name of that field. So we should be able to go fields.email, and that'll be the user's email. All right, so let's test that out, and it's gonna end up being the same email. Okay, and I think, yeah, I think that was required as well. Okay, great. And do you notice, I don't know if you saw that, there's a slight flash at first when this happens. I think what's happening is we have two different modals. So the first modal that pops up says like sending or processing or something like that. It's basically just, you know, a loader. Then it comes up with done, but there's a slight flash when it happens really fast. So I think what I'll probably end up doing is make it so that two different modals don't appear, but that the text inside the modal changes. That way it'll just be one modal. We shouldn't get the flash, or at least it shouldn't be as big of a flash, because instead of the entire modal changing, it'll just be the text inside. Oops. Okay, so let me check my email. Okay, just got the email. Thank you for your request. Great. Okay, so it came through. That's going to need cleaned up a bit. So let me show you what it looks like. This one definitely needs cleaned up more. So I don't really want a user seeing all this. So I think it would be better if, and now I just realized that, why are the, I thought that I had put in, oh, you know what? I had put in the right ones. Let me see. Okay, I just didn't build yet. So anyway, all right. So that should be better, but it's still going to be. I don't want them to see all these falses. So we'll have to make it so that if it is false, it doesn't get sent with the email, because that's not really great to see. Also, I don't like the order of these. I think it would be better if it was in a different order. So I'll need to clean that up a little bit. Again, though, I'd like to check out what can be done with templates from the. Probably it's somewhere in the SendGrid dashboard that I'll be creating the templates. But the cool thing is it did grab the user's email, which in this case was me, and it sent it to the correct email. So that's what we wanted. So I want to take that, what we did there, and I mean, not really that much. I guess I didn't really have to copy it, but we're going to put that up here. Oops. I'm going to save that, and I mean, actually, I don't know that there's that much more that really needs done, you know, other than the few things that I said we would, you know, maybe do. Let me check the timer and see how much time we have left. All right, 10 minutes. Let's see. Sorry, I was just checking the live chat quickly. But yeah, I kind of think I'm not going to try to add a new feature. Like, you know, within 10 minutes, I don't think I can. The next thing that I would probably want to do is check out those templates and see if that would be an easy solution to clean this up a little bit, make it look nicer. But there's no way that I can get that done in 10 minutes. So I think what we'll end up doing is I'm going to go now take the rest of this time to go over the pull requests we've got. So, you know, anytime any of you submit a pull request, I definitely want to give you credit for it and bring everybody up to date on, you know, any changes in the project. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll do our question and answer to finish out. So if you have questions now, please put them in the live chat. And as I said earlier, don't, you know, almost no question is really off topic here. So don't worry about, you know, whether or not your question is relevant. Any questions are fine with me. Let's see. Let me bring over. Alright, so we did just get a pull request, so I am going to open that up, but then I'm also going to show you this latest pull request that I just merged. Okay, and actually I don't think I ever talked about this one, so the last two I don't think I talked about. Alright, so these two are related. So so we've had so Kukiron has added, I was reading this to double check, make sure I get it right. Okay, so added the link. So we had a README for people who want to contribute to the project, but they're really new, they don't understand Git. So Sebastian had opened an issue and suggested that we put in information about how to use Git in GitHub. So we had some information in there, but now we have a lot. So with these two pull requests, we have a lot of info. So I added some suggestions, Sebastian added some suggestions. So between the three of us, we've got quite a few resources, so I can show you. Now we have a lot of good resources for beginners on, you know, how to fork the project and just general Git help. So I know I have done this course. That was good, and I did this course on Udacity as well. So I personally can recommend those two courses. The Udacity course I found was really thorough, and it had some other beneficial things like teaching you how to get different colors in your command line, which not necessary but kind of cool. So anyway, so thanks for that. And if there's anybody that's kind of new to Git, you know, check that out. And you know, if you go through some of these, you'll definitely, you know what's going on when it comes to Git and GitHub. And this other pull request we just got right before we started the stream. So I wanted to go over this and talk about this because I think it was a really good observation about the UI and a good pull request. But I did want to ask you all what you thought. So I really like the idea, but I think I want to implement it in a slightly different way. So let me show you what I'm talking about. I'll go to this one. So on the logos, so right now there's no indication of where we're at. I guess I should have went to this one so that we could actually see the logos. So anyway, there's no indication of which one you're on currently, and you know, Sebastian saw this and said, yeah, we definitely need that, and I completely agree. So Sebastian, I think, had just changed the font weight a bit, which definitely works, and I'll probably just pull that in and use that. But at some point, I think what I'd like to do is make these, change how these are right now, and make them tabs, like material design tabs. I don't know why I didn't do that right off the bat, but I think the way this is, you know, currently, I think it really makes sense to be tabs. You know, we have it going across the top here, and let me show you what I mean by tabs. I'm going to go on materialize. Normally I go right to the documentation for material design, Google's documentation, but this way I think it will be a little bit more interactive. We can see what the tabs are. Is it here? JavaScript. Yeah, tabs. Okay, so you could see like the tabs would go across the top, and basically the indicator would be this little underline. Let me see if they have any other examples. So the indicator would be a little underline, and then it would, you know, flip around, you know, based on that. So I'm thinking that would be the best way to go. Now we aren't using materialize for the tabs, right? We're using material UI. So I probably should check material UI and see how it's implemented there. Okay, so here we go. Same thing. You click the tag or the tab, and you get the underline. So that's what I'm thinking that we'll end up doing that. I'm not really worried about it, but since we're going with the material design thing, I think that would be the more consistent way to handle that. I'm trying to find it again. I keep flipping around everywhere. So I think that would be a more consistent way to handle that, to use the tabs. And then we would still, though, once it got small, go to something like this. So the only thing that I'm, you know, kind of slightly not sure about is I vaguely remember something about the tabs, like you shouldn't have a million tabs with material design. So this is quite a lot of tabs. So I don't know. So that might be. I'm not worried about going against the material design specs if we need to for this use case. And I think it would be fine. I think it'd be okay to drop down to this, like we have here. Which, oh man, I never fixed that. Maybe, did I fix it? I did. I just okay. So this version is a bit out of date. So I did fix it. I thought I fixed it. Okay. So anyway, that's the that's the pull request. So thank you, Sebastian. Like I said, I'll probably pull that in because I think it's important to have. But longer term, I'm thinking that maybe I would want to change that to tabs. So I don't know. If anybody really wants to try that out, feel free. That would be awesome. I don't know how soon I'll get to it. I don't think that's something that I really need before we launch. So I'd really rather work on Project 3 as much as I possibly can, because then I have to switch projects again in October. I just kind of want to get this one done and launch it, and then I can always come back and change things when I get a chance later on. All right, so that's the end of that Pomodoro session, so it's good timing. And now I will go back to the live chat, and I'm going to answer all the questions in the live chat, unless for some reason we get lots and lots of questions, but should be able to get to everything. It doesn't look like there's too many questions right now. So if you can't stick around for the question and answer session, then thanks for watching, and I'll be back tomorrow. So hopefully you can come back and catch the live stream again. But if you have a few extra minutes and can stick around, even if you don't have a question, I'd really appreciate if you could help answer questions in the live chat. Your expertise is definitely a big benefit to everybody, I think, that watches the stream, and to me as well. So let me find where I left off. Okay, so here's a good comment. So Rohan is talking about emails, and it said, I tried setting up my own email as an experiment, and it says, it looks so simple in theory, but with modern add-ons you will miss something. It's better to just use something like SendGrid. Cool. I mean, that's basically what the conclusion that I came to as well, and why I was using SendGrid. Initially, so there were several reasons that went into my choice for SendGrid, but that was one of the reasons. So I won't say that's the only reason I used it, but yeah, but that's definitely, if you really want to get into, how to send emails and things, it's something you're interested in, then it would certainly be, beneficial to you to try to do it, from scratch on your own. But if that's not something that really interests you, then using something like SendGrid is the best way to go, in my opinion. John Hansen says, so John had asked earlier about what I was using. So if it was server, if the email is sent from the server, or it's SMTP. I think I got that right. Did I mix up that acronym? Yeah, SMTP, that's right. So John says, that's a prayer type answer to the email sending protocol. I've used PHP Mailer, and even then I was shocked at how controlled email security and spam detection affects form submitted email. Yeah, like I said, I haven't had any issues with SendGrid so far. So we've been using it for a year, over a year with this. So I think in this particular case, I'll be fine. If the audience wasn't internal, So I mean, right now I know the audience and I know what has worked. If the audience was external, I might put a lot more thought into and do more testing for this. John Hansen also said, if SendGrid has some type of nicely formatted email template, I'd go for that too. Yeah, I think, I mean, I want to check it out and see how easy it is to use and what it looks like. But I mean, right now my emails look pretty basic, so it would be nice if they looked better. Sebastian says tabs are a good idea, so on this logo page, but how will they work on small screens? Oh, okay, Sebastian, I'm sorry, I didn't. So Sebastian says there's a bit more to the pull request, and I didn't check it out. So I'm sorry, I didn't check this pull request. Like I said, it came in right before the stream started, so I'm sorry, Sebastian. So let's see, point 2. Oh, okay. So, I mean, obviously you all can read, but in case somebody's just listening and can't see and is not actually looking at the video, Sebastian also removed the A tags that were inside the LIs for all the tabs that we have now. Basically, what it was doing, because they were A tags, it was changing the hash in the URL. And you're saying that's kind of annoying, also unnecessary. It's not like we're grabbing that and doing anything with it, like automatically bringing you to that category. So I agree, that was definitely a good move. So now there's no A tags, it's just LIs. You know, the LIs are the ones that have the on-click handler anyway. So yeah, so sorry I missed that again, and thank you for that. Okay, so Shay asks, what are some other favorite design guides / languages besides material design? I'm trying to think. So Microsoft has their design, what do they call it? I cannot remember what Microsoft's, basically their latest design thing is, what they use for like Office 365, and I'm sorry, I can't remember. So like basically Microsoft has their version of design. Sebastian says Fluent or something like that. Yeah, I can't remember. And then Apple has their version. So with iOS, what do they call it? No, I can't remember. I just heard this. I was just watching a video earlier on React Native, and they mentioned in the video what the name of the design is for iOS. Wow, I'm doing a terrible job answering this question. So although I can't remember the names of it, okay, cool. So Shay says Microsoft is Fluent. So Apple, Google, and Microsoft all have their own distinct design languages. Fluent for Microsoft, Material Design for Google, and something that I can't remember for Apple. Now, that's it. Okay, human. I knew it was interface something. So Apple is called Human Interface. Thank you, Shay. Okay, so in terms of like your big tech companies, those are your design things. But then there's also like, I mean, there's Bootstrap, right? So Bootstrap is, I don't think when you think of design, if it would come up that like, oh, Bootstrap's a design philosophy, like in the same way that material design is. But if you look at the web, Bootstrap has influenced design a lot, right? You can't always tell if someone used Bootstrap because you can certainly customize it a lot and it won't look like Bootstrap, but there are a lot of sites out there that are just basic Bootstrap. You go to the site and you don't even have to check. You know they use Bootstrap for that. Right, it's just used so many places. So just for the influence alone, I would definitely say that it's it should be lumped in with some of the big design things. Now there is design that it's fallen out of favor now, but I think it was called skeuomorphic design. It's spelled really weird. It's like SKEUMORPHIC, something like that. But it's from what I understand at least, and I don't think I'm at all an expert in design, but from what I understand, it was more like you take like real world things and have them in the design. So I guess an example would be, I don't know if anybody remembers the old music player for Windows, the Winamp, and you could get different skins for Winamp, and some of them actually looked like a stereo, like a real life stereo with buttons, you know, and switches and stuff, and you could press them. Like I said, from my understanding of skeuomorphic design, that would be an example. That the interface actually looks like what the equivalent thing would look like in real life. So someone please correct me if I'm getting that wrong. But I think that's it. So also Sebastian mentions Foundation. So Foundation is basically does the same thing as Bootstrap, and that's also been influential. So I don't know the statistics offhand. I'm pretty sure that Bootstrap is used on more sites right now, but I hear a lot of good things about Foundation. I've looked through their docs. I can't remember if I've ever used it on a project. Certainly not on any projects for clients or anything. I may have used it just on some side projects though. Okay, so anyway, Shay, I hope I answered your question somewhat. Sorry I can't. Like I said, I'm not that well versed in all the different design philosophies for web design. Okay, good. So Shay says you're right about skeuomorphic. Apple was also really into it for a while. Think the Notes app. Yeah, actually, I was thinking that too. The Notes app is a great example because it looks like an actual piece of paper, like notepad paper. So, yeah, I think skeuomorphic design is interesting and cool to look at sometimes, but I'm not a fan of it for actual like ease of use. So I'm kind of glad that we got away from that. I think I don't know, my view on website design is like the sites that win like the design awards. So what is it, like the AWWW awards? I can't remember what the website is called. But the sites that win design awards aren't always the most user-friendly sites. Sometimes you go to these sites and you have no idea how to navigate or what's going on, but it looks really cool. To me, skeuomorphic design fits more into that category in terms of sometimes it can look really cool, but it's not necessarily the most user-friendly, right? Like, to go back to the old Winamp example, I'm pretty sure like there were some elements in the UI of some of those skins that looked cool and it looked like a real stereo or something, but it didn't actually do anything when you clicked it, right? So there are elements like that. Now, could you do it so that didn't happen? I'm sure you could, but then would it look less realistic? I don't know. So now on the other side of things, I think like material design is probably not going to win any design awards. Like I don't know that I've ever seen a site win a design award. And I'm talking about. Let me just bring the site up so that we all know what we're talking about. Also, let me know does anybody mind that I have the live chat up on the screen, because I mean I guess your name would be on the video. I know I already say your names, but let me know. I just brought it over to this screen because this screen has the camera on it right now, and I just wanted to be kind of looking more at the camera instead of to the side. So let me bring this up. There we go. Yeah, a www award. So let me show. I'm just going to go to the home page and we can see. So this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about awards. Is mostly this is what I go to see, like, you know, wit sites. So I'm sure there are other awards, but this tends to have like some really out there designs and things. So like I said, so I don't think you're ever going to find just a straight up by the book material design site on here, but a material design site seems to be really user friendly. So my take on design, it somewhat just depends on what you're going for with that particular site, and it would depend. I mean, if it's for a client, you know, really, if your client's a fashion designer, I think you could get away with doing something that's really more like artistic, even if it's less user friendly, because the goal of a site like that might not be like, hey, we want a bunch of users here to be able to do something in particular. The goal is we want to make an impression, we make an impact, right? So it just depends, you know, on what you're going for, and sometimes it's hard to keep that in mind. I know, like with Project 1, which was the Catechetical Institute website, it was definitely a struggle. There were some people involved in the project that I think they had in their minds that they really wanted this to make an impact. They wanted it to be like visually stunning, which is awesome, but you know, I just kept asking, well, like, what is the point of this site? What do you want people to do? What do you want them to get from this site? So eventually I think we reached a nice compromise where we had some elements that were there that were somewhat striking, you know, visually, but we were able to work in a lot of very functional things. You know, I think it's always a struggle depending on who you're working with as to where you go, you know, in terms of design. Let's see. Let me go back. We have some more things. Okay, John Hansen says flat design started in 2012, not so long ago. So yeah, there's definitely, I've forgotten about that, but there's the flat design. Oh, cool. So Sebastian likes the chat on the screen. Awesome. So let me scroll up a bit because I think I skipped over some things. Okay, so let me go, so Dead Zombie says, I just got into front-end development and I'm trying to learn a responsive design. Is Bootstrap a good starting point, or what's your opinion, where should I start from? Let's see. Yeah, I mean, Bootstrap is good. I guess it kind of depends too on what you want to do. Like if you, so I guess you're saying front end, so front end development, responsive design. Yeah, so I would say you can focus a lot on CSS and get really good at making these custom layouts and things. Or there's a lot of people that focus on JavaScript, and they do a lot with JavaScript and don't worry so much about the customs layouts, and they're happy to just use some pre-made system. That's kind of where I'm at. I do enjoy customizing things with CSS, but I rely, you know, I kind of fall back on either Materialize or Material UI, you know, so, and I fall back on the material design guidelines. So I guess it's kind of what you want. If your goal is to be able to like make things from scratch in CSS and get really good at CSS, then maybe you don't want to use Bootstrap right away. If your goal is just to start making websites and, you know, build up and get better with JavaScript, then yeah, definitely use Bootstrap, because it's going to take care of a lot of little detail things that could slow you up and would be unnecessary if you're not really trying to get, you know, deep into CSS. So I mean, I don't think there's any problem at all with starting out using Bootstrap. So even like in the freeCodeCamp courses or their exercises, it starts out, I mean, you do some basic CSS, but it really starts out with Bootstrap and allows you to use Bootstrap for some of those projects. So I think it's a good way to just move forward and get some confidence using sites. And then even beyond that, if that works and you're making sites, you're making good sites that people can use and get things done and your clients are happy with, I don't really see a problem in using Bootstrap and never going on to anything else if that's not really what you're into. And then again, as well, you don't have to go with Bootstrap. Certainly you could go with Foundation, you could go with Materialize, you could go with, I'm trying to think what some of the other ones. There are some that are lighter frameworks. So it's not like you have to go with a framework or nothing. You can kind of go in between. So there are some really lightweight frameworks that just will give you like, some bare bones things, maybe like some column classes, and then you take care of a lot of the rest. So you could compromise with that so that a lot of the more, I don't know, kind of mundane things are taken care of, and then you add on top of that some of the more like creative visual elements. So anyway, so I mean, I know you have a lot of choices, so sometimes it makes it harder to choose with more choices. But at first, like, choose a system that you like how it looks, because you want to like what you're building. So if you really like how Bootstrap looks, then go with that. Otherwise, find something that you really like. Sebastian says, I used to love Winamp. Old times. Yeah, for sure. Winamp was awesome back in the day with all the custom skins you could have. Those really cool. GS Nitish says, I feel front end is hard, but I enjoy developing back end stuff. What should I learn to become a decent web developer? If you like back end stuff, and you want to learn some front end, so essentially like you're gonna end up being full stack, right? So if you like that, the idea of being able to do everything, and you like back end, now when you go into front end, I recommend like using things like a CSS framework, like we just talked about, Bootstrap, Materialize, Foundation, something like that. Or even something like React with Material UI, so that a lot of the HTML, CSS stuff is taken care of for you. You can, learn some JavaScript so that you can make things work, but, realistically, when you're dealing with something like React, and if you use a component library, you're not writing very much HTML at all, or CSS. Instead, you're thinking about the logic of it, of state management and things like that, which I think may be easier to go into because you're still using a programming language instead of like HTML or CSS. So that might be a way to build out things on the front end without having to worry too much about design, and essentially you would be able to build complete apps, front and back. So if at some point it starts to get easier for you and you find you like it, you can dig deeper into front end. But until then, I definitely recommend going with something that's built out as much as possible already. Like, so something like, create React app with a UI framework, already there, and you just put the pieces together, pop in some data, you have an app, right? You won't be able to customize it too much if you don't really want to get into that, but at least you'll have something that's functional. I think that's important. Once you have something functional, you can always mess with it and, you know, adapt it as your skills get better. Let's see. Okay, so in response to what we were talking about earlier, to Dead Zombie's question, Dead Zombie says, never tried a framework before, use a lot of custom CSS for my school projects. Also, yeah, I'm learning through freeCodeCamp. Thanks for your opinion. You're welcome. No problem. Hopefully it's helpful to you. Okay, so GS Natish says, well, if I want to be just a back-end guy, what should I start with, which would be easier if I'm completely new to web dev? Okay, so you're saying you want to be in web development, but you're not worried about front-end now. What if you just wanted to do back-end? I don't know. I mean, I'm probably not the best person to answer this question because I'm more of a front-end person. But in terms of back-end, like, you know, just the basics of databases, you know, either, you know, SQL or no SQL, it doesn't really matter. You know, learn how to interact with a database, build APIs. So I mean, for sure, you REST APIs, right? Everybody uses those. But I would even check out something like GraphQL. That seems to be like the new thing that, in my opinion, GraphQL seems superior to REST APIs. And I'm excited for the day whenever, you know, most of the REST APIs are instead GraphQL APIs. Yeah, I would. I'm trying to think what other back-end things. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely at least learn some JavaScript. So it's not going to be as foreign to you as HTML and CSS would be. You don't need to go full on JavaScript if you're just going to stick with backend, but you know, that would help bridge the gap a bit so you can understand like what, you know, some of what's going on client side. And then if you wanted to handle some things in Node.js on the back end, you know, you could pick that up. But you know, PHP is still a really popular back-end language for the web. So I mean, you have things like WordPress, which is built in PHP, Drupal. You know, those are your big PHP ones. What else? I'm pretty sure Joomla's PHP. So I mean, you have those, and then you also have the whole realm of like, you know, .NET stuff, right? So if you're familiar with C++, it might not be that big of a jump to get into C#, you know, get into some .NET framework things. So anyway, I mean, you have a lot of options. Really, at this point, I think your best bet would be to read up on some of your different language options. So for backend, you know, PHP, .NET Framework, Node.js. Read them up on them. Maybe do some like basic tutorial things on them just to get a feel for it. And then, you know, if you have at that point, if you really like one over the other, then go for that. My other advice in this kind of thing is always, if you have a certain company you would love to work for, or a few companies, find out what stack they use and learn that, right? Because if you have no idea how to use their stack or whatever language they're using, the odds of you getting a job there are probably pretty low. So if you, let's say you don't really care what language you use, but you do care about, you know, where you work, then that's another, you know, another way to go about it. Anyway, hopefully that helps you out a little bit. It can be really tough at the beginning when you're trying to figure out what do I learn. Once you start to get an idea for what you really like and can start to specialize, I think that's when it gets really fun. It's tough because once you specialize in one thing, you're saying no to everything else. But then you start to really feel like you know what you're doing, and that you're building cool things. At least that's been my experience. Okay, Sebastian says, I have Windows 10 with their Fluent design, and it has many things borrowed from Material Design. Yeah, I agree. I don't use Windows 10 often, but I have been checking out Office 365. So recently, well, within the last year, I was on a committee to choose between switching over my university to Office 365 or G Suite. So we had to test out both systems. And I thought the same thing. I thought that Microsoft's design definitely, at times, felt a little bit like Material Design, which was cool. Like I said, I really think diversity of design is great for making really awesome things that look nice, but uniformity is great for user experience. So I'm not against it. John Hansen says, Bootstrap is a great way to understand the first steps into the whole NPM and Node setup and using an editor. The documentation is amazing for it too. No Beer recommends, even if you want to just be a backend developer, you should probably know a little bit of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So yeah, I mean, I think that's good advice. And really, HTML and CSS are not that hard to learn. And I always shy away from saying, oh, it's easy, because everything seems easy once you've been doing it for years, right? But in this case, I really do believe that in terms of the entire computer science realm, right? If we want to talk about which things are hard to learn, which things are easy, HTML and CSS are definitely on the easy side of things to learn. So if you've been able to comprehend other concepts like in C++ and Java, if you just took some time and really worked on CSS and HTML just to get some basic understanding, I think you'll be fine. John Hansen still has Winamp installed and uses it. That's awesome. I didn't even realize Winamp was like still a thing. That's really cool. Yeah, I use Spotify all the time now, so I don't have any any media player that I use other than that. Let's see. Sumant asks, kindly suggest me a few important interview questions where Node is used as a backend. So it's basically, what questions should a backend developer prepare for would be my question. I don't really know that I would know that, especially if you wanted to be a back-end developer. I mean, I guess if you wanted to be a front-end developer and they just wanted to know, like, do you know some basic stuff? I don't know, maybe I'd be more helpful there. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to try to guess and give you silly questions, so I'm not going to pretend like I'm qualified for that. But I will say there are definitely some resources out there. So, I mean, I don't want to just give you the answer, Google it. But really, recently I was involved in the interview process for a web developer, and I Googled a lot of questions to ask during the interviews. And there's a lot out there, a lot of good stuff out there. So I don't think it'll be very hard for you to find some questions. I'm trying to think. Stack Overflow Jobs, I think, has some resources where they have on their blog or something like that. They have interview questions for different types of developers, so I would check there. I know there are lists on GitHub of interview questions. Just off the top of my head, those are two resources that I had used, and we actually took some of those questions and used them for the interviews. Dead Zombie says, "Yeah, I love watching your streams." Awesome. I appreciate that. Let me check. I just got a Slack message. I want to check and make sure it's nothing I need to handle right now. Alright. Yeah, nothing. I don't know about you all, but for me, for my department, Slack is, I would say, like, I don't know, 70% used, maybe 75% used for just kind of casual talking and joking, and 25% for actual work-related stuff. So, but I still like to check if I get something that might be important. Let's see. Mandela Effect Conference asks, is Laravel good or not? Honestly, I have no knowledge at all of Laravel, so hopefully somebody in the live chat knows. Let's see. Oh, actually, Sonobeer says Laravel is a popular one and a powerful one of the PHP frameworks nowadays. That's it. Okay. Now that you say that, I remember now that I did know that it was associated with PHP, so, but that's about the extent of my knowledge. No Beer asks, what's the software you're using for live video on YouTube? Sebastian said OBS. Yeah, it's OBS. So actually, oh man, I'm sorry. I had forgotten. I just put this on the screen, and it's probably like, yeah, it is. I can't believe I didn't notice that. Let me flip this over. I just wanted to make sure that the camera was like basically centered on me. I was worried I was out of the frame. So anyway, sorry about that. GS Nati says, what is .NET, and if it how is it different from Node.js? Okay, so I'm just going to read off some of the answers to that because I think there's already some good answers in here. Mandela Effect Conference says .NET, ASP.NET, C# are all Microsoft stuff. Actually says there's a boot camp in Ohio for C#. Yeah, so GS Natish, I have, so like my last few streams, any of my streams that are from, like, it says Project 3, I'm using .NET stuff. So basically, it's just another kind of way of building backends for websites. So I don't know if you're familiar at all with WordPress, but WordPress uses PHP to put together little snippets of HTML and make these basically templates for pages that grab the data from a database, insert it into these templates, put it all together, and then send to the client, to the browser from the server, HTML, right? So with .NET, you're using C# and ASP.NET to do the same thing, to piece together pieces of HTML that then get populated with data from a database, right? So it's that's all it does, right? And so I guess it's just what it comes down to. They all do the same thing, right? So most of your back-end web languages are going to do the same thing, right? It's all just piecing together HTML and combining it with data. So it's just a matter of what language do you like. Like I said, what language do you like working with, or what language does the company use that you really want to work for? Blake asks, what is the general consensus on Ruby Ruby on Rails. I don't know. I've never used it. From what I've heard, though, I've heard it's very simple to learn and use. But I can't verify that personally. That's just what I've heard from articles, people on YouTube. Akshay says, where can we get the Microsoft patches for Windows 10.1? I don't really know. Like I said, so I don't. Hopefully, somebody in the live chat can give a better answer here, but I don't. Like I said, I rarely use Windows 10, so I'm not really up on when the updates are coming out. Okay, so Rishab says, I work as a full stack developer with Meteor and React Native. Oh, that's cool. I've seen some demos with Meteor, and it seems really cool. I want to learn more about it. Srujan says, hi, I've created my own portfolio website on GitHub Pages using Bootstrap. I know some Python and JavaScript. I wish to make augmented reality apps. That's really cool. That's cool to. I think that's a really cool area to get into. Because it's so new. It's awesome to be part of something that's new and changing so fast. But Srujan asks, what can I learn next? I don't really know. I mean, with augmented reality, I'm not sure. It seems these days there's a way to do everything with JavaScript. So I'm sure if you learn more JavaScript, there's probably some library out there that lets you do augmented reality with it. I just am not familiar with it right now. Other than that, I don't really know. Does anyone know what's the commonly used thing for augmented reality right now? I really haven't even checked into it. So sorry I can't be more help to you. I'm just not really. I think it's really cool and I'm excited about more augmented reality stuff, but I don't really have very much knowledge about what's being used right now for it. Oh, okay. Umberto says Visual Studio has HoloLens development stuff if you don't mind learning .NET. Okay, cool. That makes sense. HoloLens being a Microsoft product. All right, let's see. Sumant says, you are so wonderful that you take time to read everyone's comments. I'm watching all of your live streams just for this. Oh, awesome. That's cool. I appreciate that. Sometimes I worry, because occasionally I get comments from people that say, you talk too much. And hey, I mean, that's fine. I don't deny that I talk a lot. Sometimes I go off on tangents. But sometimes I wonder, should I have more coding and not do so much question and answer stuff at the end? But it's good to know that that you like the question and answer stuff. So that's when I think there's a few unique things about this stream, and one of the unique things I think is the live chat, the interaction, the question and answer stuff. I mean, I'm not saying I'm the only person that does it. Certainly, I haven't watched everybody else's streams to know, but I think it's kind of a cool feature. Let's see. Oh, okay. Umberto also says Google has AR Core for augmented reality. iPhone has AR Kit. Okay, cool. This is cool info. Okay, and Umberto said that he did just hear about a JavaScript framework for AR, meaning augmented reality, but can't remember what it is. Okay, cool. I mean, there's, like I said, there's got to be something for JavaScript. I just read an article yesterday about doing machine learning with JavaScript. There was actually like a mess in the comments, though. There were people saying you definitely shouldn't do it. Something about the way that math is done in JavaScript. But anyway, I had to quit reading it because I realized like, hey, this has nothing to do with anything I'm working on, so it's probably a waste. But anyway, it just seems like you can do everything in JavaScript these days. Oh, cool. Umberto says AR.js. That makes sense, and that's easy to remember. Awesome, Umberto. Oh, Srujan says Google's AR core is limited to only Pixels and S8. Oh, wow, that's cool. So I have a Pixel. Maybe I should check it out since I can develop with that. No Beer says, yeah, you talk too much, but I like it. All right, that's cool. I'm one of those people that I'm really quiet at first, but once I get started, I talk a lot. There's sometimes I'm in meetings and I say nothing. Like literally, I was in a meeting a few days ago, and one of my bosses said, "Are you going to say anything at the end?" And I just shook my head. I had nothing. I felt like I had nothing valuable to add to the conversation, so I wasn't going to talk. But anyway. Oh, okay. So Reagan asks, is it possible to only learn a JavaScript library without learning JavaScript itself? I would give it a qualified yes, and the qualification would be you would certainly have to learn some JavaScript to be able to use the library. You could probably get away with only learning a certain amount of JavaScript and not, let's say, mastering everything. And then as to whether or not that's advisable, I don't know. I mean, you could probably build some things like that, but at some point you would, if you want to get better and be able to really customize and do things with that framework outside just the very normal scope of it, you probably would want to learn more JavaScript. So, I don't know. Hopefully that's an okay answer. Dead Zombie says, considering that JavaScript library is based on JavaScript, I think you do need to learn JavaScript before you try learning libraries. Yeah. So, yeah, I think I'm kind of the same way, right? Like if you were to ask me what I thought was the best way to learn everything, then I would say, yeah, try to learn JavaScript and then get into a library instead of the other way around. But if the question is it possible to learn a library without learning JavaScript? Yeah. And by not learning JavaScript, I mean not learning a lot of JavaScript. You definitely do need some. Blake says, I like the comments. I'm the same way. Not talking. Cool, you understand. Mandela Effect Conference says, start with HTML, CSS, jQuery, then go to vanilla JavaScript. Yeah, actually, that's a common thing, really, now that I think about it. So, I guess if you want to talk about, jQuery as a JavaScript library, a lot of people do start with jQuery, and it helps them to, manipulate the DOM and do some cool things without getting into the JavaScript. So, I'm not sure how I feel about that. That's how I started out, but it's hard to switch. It is really hard to force yourself to learn how to do it in vanilla JavaScript. because the jQuery way is often so much easier. So I don't know. I mean, jQuery allowed me to get a lot of cool stuff done and make money building websites. So I don't regret that. But I do think I probably would have gotten better at JavaScript faster if I had forced myself not to use it. But I wasn't really in a position to be picky about things. I had to pay the bills, I had to feed my kids, and I had to take on clients that needed work done. So I mean, I needed to get it done, and jQuery can certainly help you do that. But if you did have the luxury of being able to try to learn things exactly in the way you want to, however you want to learn them, then I don't know that I would have done jQuery first. Okay. I'm pretty sure I got all the questions in. I'm just going to glance quickly here at the end of the live chat. Oh, okay. Umberto had a useful comment here. In terms of, so we're talking about Google's AR Core only working with a limited amount of phones here. Umberto says they are working on making it available for all of their devices. It'll just be a more lightweight version since they won't necessarily have the optimized hardware. Okay, cool. That's good to know. Yeah, I really want to get into some of that stuff. The augmented reality stuff seems really cool. Maybe I can find some way to get into it as a project for work. That would be pretty awesome. Otherwise, I don't know that I'll have that much time as a side project. But oh, okay. Blake said, "Did you talk about the Ruby on Rails? I didn't catch that." Yeah, you know what? I remember saying something about it, but I don't think I went on to read anything else about Ruby on Rails. I think the only thing I said about it was that I thought it was supposed to be pretty simple to pick up and learn how to use. Okay, and now I can't find, I'm trying to look back up in the chat for things on Ruby on Rails, so I'm not seeing anything right now. Oh, okay. Mandela Effect Conference did say something similar to Ruby on Rails might be a PHP framework. Ruby language, I don't know what is similar that is actually used. Crystal language is similar to Ruby but is not used. Okay, so I think that's all I found on Ruby. As far as I know, Ruby on Rails was gained a lot of popularity, I don't know, years ago. I don't remember about how many years ago, but it seems like it's lost some popularity right around the same time that Node.js has kind of gained popularity. I don't know, that's just my observation. I don't really have numbers on hand to back that up. But I just don't hear Rails talked about quite as much as I used to. Okay. Oh, okay. Sorry. So Blake repeated, said my question was, what is the general consensus on Ruby on Rails? Okay. All right, so I mean, what I just said basically is pretty much my opinion on Rails. It's you can certainly still use Rails to build stuff. It works, and people still use it. But if you had to ask me, if you want to position yourself to have great job skills that are in demand, it just does seem like it seems like it's just losing popularity, right? So PHP, to be honest with you, because of how popular WordPress is, I think PHP is still really valid to know. Node has really grown and continues to grow, especially like with React's popularity. You know, a lot of React, although you don't necessarily need Node, need to use Node as a backend, it seems like a lot of the time Node is the backend. So for me at least, I'm focusing on learning more Node stuff for backend. I use other stuff when I have to for like a legacy project, but I don't know that I would recommend, unless someone had a really good reason for wanting to learn Rails, I don't know that I would recommend it as, you know, being like the best career move that they could make. But once again, I'm going to say, like, if you happen to really like it, go with it. If you know that a company you really like uses it, go with it. But just in general, I don't know that I would recommend it. But I never used it. So take that into consideration with my answer as well. Let's see. Reagan asks, between PHP and Python, which language is the best for you? Nobeer says PHP is best. I think it depends on what you want to do. If you're talking about web development, go with PHP. If you're talking about machine learning, go with Python. Data science, I would go with Python. And that's just based on what the most popular languages are for those things. I rarely ever hear of people using Python in regard to web development, but PHP is all over the place. And even things like all your shared hosting environments, you know, are running PHP stuff all the time, it seems like. I don't know that I've ever tried to run Python on them, so maybe they run Python too. I just don't know. But I do know, at least right now, from what I've read, for things like data science and machine learning, Python is the #1 language being used. Let's see. Mandela Effect Conference says Rails is on the decline in the U.S., Europe, and says Europe and Australia might be better, but not sure. Okay. So that seems to be the consensus, that Rails is still used, but it is, you know, declining, at least in the U.S. Okay, Rishab says, is Happy.js, so HAPI.js, a better alternative to Meteor for REST services? I don't really know. I probably know more about Meteor than I know about Happy, so, but really it's very limited. It's limited to seeing other people do stuff with it. So I don't know that I can really answer that. So sorry, I just don't have enough experience with it to give you a good answer. Burke. So Berke. So sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Let me know if I am. I'll pronounce it right. So Burke says, "Hi. When is React going to be available in freeCodeCamp?" I don't know. So it seems like the answer that Quincy always gives is soon. Basically, the answer is when we're confident that it's ready, it will be released. So, I actually don't have anything to do with developing that, So I don't have any more information than you all have with that. So there are a lot of other people volunteering to make that work, and it's on GitHub. So you can check out GitHub and just see like how many pull requests are there and bugs and things. And if you really kind of want to dig deeper and find out where where that project's at, or even help, I'm sure they would appreciate any help that you could give. See. Timo says, I personally feel like it'll take a while before the beta, which will include React, is ready. Yeah, honestly, I have no idea. It's been a long time since I even checked out the beta. I know it's been a long time in development, but I don't know. It's so hard to me. Like I said, I'm not involved in it. But I would imagine it's got to be hard to try to come up with a curriculum for web development because it changes so fast. If you take too long to develop it, the stuff you did at the beginning is probably already outdated. So that's a challenging thing. So I appreciate everybody working on that because it's got to be tough. Okay, Timo says there are a lot of issues to resolve before it's usable. Okay, so it may be a while. I don't know, but I'm sure if there are more people that are helping out with things, it could be ready. So I would, if you have any time at all to volunteer to help with that, check it out. Check out some of the issues. See if you can solve some of them, and. Let's see. Rishabh says, for a while we can use Code Academy Introduction to React. Yeah, I've done their Intro to React. I don't know. They may have updated it from when I did it, but when I did it, it wasn't bad. It helped. I learned some of the basic stuff. Didn't really make me an expert. But it got me through some of the basic stuff, which was nice, especially if you don't want to have to deal with a lot of the setup to run on your local machine. It's good to be able to do some in-browser stuff. All right, got another question. Reagan asks, can we call a web developer a software engineer? I don't know. I wouldn't personally. Would there be some justification for that? I don't really know. I know there's like heated debate about terms of which you can call different developers and engineers and things like that. So I'm not gonna. I really feel like I don't have enough information to weigh in on that question. To be honest with you, when it comes to titles in this industry, it seems almost like whatever job you can convince somebody that you can do, like that's your title. Because some of these titles are just like, I feel like sometimes they don't really mean that much. Because it's such a broad range of things, right? I mean, we're in an industry where people have titles like JavaScript Ninja, right? I mean, or like PHP Wizard. I mean, it's just like I don't really know what makes somebody an engineer as opposed to a programmer or a developer. If there's some resource out there that clearly defines those terms for our industry, then that'd be great, but I don't know about it. So like I said, I would not call myself an engineer, but I wouldn't be opposed if somebody offered a job calling me a front-end engineer. I'll take it. That sounds like a cool title. if somebody wanted to hire me to do front end work, but my title would be software engineer, I would take it. I mean, I would think it would be weird, you know, but I wouldn't be like totally opposed to it. Let's see. Okay, Timo says, I'm a core team member for the freeCodeCamp beta curriculum, so we can definitely use the help of more active contributors. Oh, awesome. Cool. So Timo, thanks for your contributions and being a core team member. That's awesome. And thanks for the info. No Beer says no to the question of web developers being called a software engineer. Timo says, I believe in Texas a 4-year degree is required to have the title of engineer. Oh, huh. I had never even considered that. So I guess in some places the title engineer is, I guess, legally maybe reserved to certain degrees. That's really interesting. Rishabh says, I've been working on React, Redux, and GraphQL. So it's always good to do something new. That's cool. I'll probably, right now I'm working on React Redux. I really do want to learn more about GraphQL, so I'll be following the same path there. Mandela Effect asks, are most engineering degrees 5 years? I don't really know. I'm pretty sure you can do 4-year engineering degrees. I'm trying to think. I do know somebody that got their engineering degree. I'm trying to remember when they graduated. I'm pretty sure they did it in 4 years, but I'm not positive. I mean, it's always possible that they took a bunch of summer classes and it should have been a 5-year degree and they just did it in 4. I don't know. Okay. Well, I'm to the end of the live chat here, and this stream has gone on for quite a while now. So I can feel my throat starting to go too, so I don't want to completely lose my voice. So now's a great time to wrap things up. So thanks so much, everyone, for watching. And let's see. It looks like there's some more questions, coming in. So. I'm going to leave, I'm going to end it because we seem to get a never-ending stream of questions. So if I don't get to your question, if you're putting it in right now into the live chat, go ahead and ask me for tomorrow's stream, or you can send me a message on Twitter or some other social media. You put it in the comments of the video. You could join our Slack channel for this stream and ask everyone in there. I think the link to the Slack channel is in the description. So next stream is probably going to be tomorrow around 2 p.m. Eastern time, so same time as today, unless something comes up, and then I'll either reschedule or cancel, but I'll let everyone know on Twitter in any case what's going to happen. Yeah, I think that's it. Alright, so again, thank you everyone, and really great chat at the end there. It went on for quite a while, and a lot of great questions and answers. I appreciate all of it, all the questions and answers, and yeah, so have a great day. I'll see y'all tomorrow.